Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at nutrition and training and how to approach that when looking at starting your journey as a bikini competitor. I'll be giving you plenty of advice when it comes to setting yourself up for success and my top tips on how to make this a lifestyle. By the end of this video, you will have an idea of what the true fundamentals are that are going to contribute to your nutrition and training as a competitor. I'll also be giving you an update into how my prep's going as I get ready for my next bodybuilding show, which is set for in just 3 weeks now. So I look forward to sharing that with you towards the end of the video. If you're looking at becoming a competitor, then make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit that bell to alert you every time I post a new video, and thumbs up if you enjoy the content today. What I'd like to do is split this video into two halves. The first half we're going to be looking at nutrition, and the second we're going to delve into training. I'm going to be looking to give you the tools to succeed at both elements and help you become a bikini competitor. In last week's video, we looked at how getting a coach could help facilitate you becoming a successful competitor. Now, not only will their knowledge into nutrition and training help your journey, but the support you can gain from having a coach will be invaluable to your progressions as an athlete. I'm going to base this video around how you can implement nutrition and training guidelines into your lifestyle with minimal stress. I won't be looking to set you targets in this video because that's completely bespoke to you. So this video is going to be best used once you have your nutrition and training plan ready. Let's start with my 3 steps to nailing your nutrition. Step number 1 is understanding the approach that you're going to take. Are you looking at hitting macros under the flexible dieting approach, or are you veering more towards a meal plan, or perhaps a mixture of the two? Now, I myself follow the flexible dieting approach, but I have also used meal plans, and I've been successful using both methods. And to be honest, at the moment, although flexible dieting is my overall approach, I sometimes put myself onto a bit of a meal plan where I eat the same meals most days. I'm pretty much following a set structure as I go. So both lend themselves really well depending on where you're at, which phase you're in, your lifestyle, and what you're looking to achieve as a competitor. Once you've made a decision into which approach you're going to follow, it's time to look at how that's going to fit into your lifestyle. In one of my previous series where we looked at body transformation, there was a video that I released about how to hit a calorie target and also one about how to meal prep. So these 2 videos are really good to have a look back on to help you understand how we're going to fit your nutrition into your lifestyle. Generally speaking, when looking to become a competitor, changes are going to need to happen to your nutrition. Whether you're in prep or off season, you're going to start to need to look at your intakes. Taking responsibility for those changes that you need to make and putting that into your everyday life will pay dividends. Using the outline of your plan, you can start to look at what needs to go into hitting your daily targets. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter what approach you take. If you don't understand what you need to do, how do you expect to execute the plan? The next thing I'd like you to think about is what you need to get you started, the tools that you're going to need to have available. So this is going to be things like food scales, a food tracking app. If you're doing a meal plan, you're going to need a printout or access to that plan via your phone. Simple things like cooking utensils, things like Tupperwares, all contribute to you getting started with as much ease as possible. We want to keep the stress levels down, especially when you're getting started. So making sure you have all the tools in place to hit the ground running is going to be key to your success. It's all about nailing the basics when you get started, and this will 100% contribute to your adherence to your plan. Having everything ready is going to push out excuses, and it's going to take out potential stress from starting on your journey as a competitor. And step number 3 is to get started. So that might sound obvious, but actually picking a start date is sometimes the hardest part. There's elements of commitment needed once you set that date in mind, but it's an important part to you starting your journey as a competitor. You're going to need to get your head around becoming accountable pretty quickly. So I urge you to commit to that date and don't let anything deviate you. I will always stick to my claims when I say that if you half-ass your nutrition, your training, or any aspect of becoming a competitor, you're going to facilitate a half-assed result. So pour your energies into setting yourself up and getting started. Okay, so you've set a date. What's going to facilitate you starting? We're going to look at understanding the approach you're looking to take, which is step number 1. You've thought about the tools you need, which is step number 2. It's also worth looking at your desire to achieve, your willingness to learn, and setting yourself up with a strong goal. With all of this in place, you can then attack the phase that you're going to enter. Now, this series is geared towards getting yourself ready for a bikini competition. But there is also phases where you're going to go into off seasons, where you're looking to build muscle. I'd urge you to put energies into whichever phase you're in and always facilitate your own understanding as to what is required. I also want you to consider how this is going to affect you mentally. Especially if you're looking to get into stage condition, this is going to require long periods of dieting, potentially feelings you've never felt before. And most of us haven't felt proper hunger for extended periods of time. And that's going to happen if you're looking to compete. So start to get your head around what's going to be required from you mentally as well as physically when looking to become a competitor. The first 3 steps we've just looked at are going to build the foundations for you to build on as a competitor. And like I mentioned earlier and in last week's video, the help of a coach here could be really, really useful to your progress. I had a question come up on my Instagram, which I thought would be really cool to answer today. So I had someone that follows me ask what sort of foods do I eat when I'm in prep? As I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty much on a food plan at the moment because I'm eating the same foods most days. I've found the foods that work for me, the foods that I enjoy, and the foods that I can implement really easily into my lifestyle to keep the stress levels down. I have 5 meals over my day, and I look to eat every 3 to 4 hours, give or take. In the morning, I have a shake, just protein. It just gives me something before I train or before I take my little doggies out for a nice long dog walk. And I personally find that using minimal calories in the morning when I start my day, I can then use that first 3 to 4 hours feeling hungry, but I'm either training or I'm walking the dogs and I'm keeping busy, so it's not so bad. I can then have more food throughout the rest of the day, which is how I like to structure it. Meal 2 will generally be some vegetables, so things like squash, Brussels sprouts or broccoli, and I have some chicken and normally a baby bell, the good stuff. Then I look to have a higher fat meal, so I have salmon and normally an apple and a bit of Philly lightest. I then have a protein bar, some protein yogurt and sometimes some fruit. And I have oats before bed, which I pour my protein shake into. And that is pretty much every day. Sometimes I mix it around a little bit, but that's the general gist of it. I find, like I say, it works really well for me. All of those foods digest really well. I've got some fish, some meat, veggies and fruit. So I'm hitting lots of different things that I'd like to cover when looking to structure my nutrition. Naturally, when you're considering your own nutrition, look at the foods that you enjoy and that fit within your approach. I really do recommend trying to bring in those foods that you like and trying to have a varied diet. Because I eat the same foods most days, it doesn't mean that my day in itself can't be varied. If anyone's got any more questions about nutrition, please feel free to reach out in the comments below or via my Instagram page. Okay, so let's delve into training. I'd like to start with one of my favourite analogies when it comes to looking at your training, and that's building a winning physique is like building your dream house. The first step is building the foundations. Like with everything in life, you've got to start somewhere. And by looking at this as building the foundations when you're considering starting a new training plan, you can look at what would be needed to build that sturdy base. You're going to look at the tools you need, the plan, and how you're going to execute that to start building your dream physique. Starting with that solid foundation is so important. If you're new to weight training, it's like when you would consider using things like machines to get you started and building that first layer of strength, of muscle memory, and feeling confident in lifting weight and changing your training regime. It would be like if you were going to train for a marathon, you wouldn't just go out and run 26 miles. You'd start with a few miles and build up every week. Once you have your foundations laid out, you can look at laying your floor in. This is like when you've got your training plan, the next step, and that would be to start a regular training regime. And I definitely look to get at least a few weeks under your belt before you move on to the next stage. Building that first floor, 3-4 weeks in, you've established a routine and that's regular. You then want to continue this routine, but you can start to look at how you approach your training. The confidence is there that you're able to commit to your regular sessions. Start thinking about your effort and your intention when you're training. See if you can push yourself a little bit more. And then you can start to look at reviewing what you do within your sessions. This would be like building some stairs. You can start to think about potentially adding some more complex exercises or branching out from machines to maybe cable work. You can then start to add some free weights. So you can start to explore different things within your training approach. Building your stairs then leads to building the second floor. This is where you would have a routine established and training is second nature to you now. Something you can consider is bringing in challenges into your training regime. So this could be things like aiming for a personal best on a certain exercise. This could be things like if you're in prep, you might enter, say, a charity walk. Your calorie expenditure needs to go up. Perhaps, you do walking on the treadmill or you do the cross trainer for your cardio for set periods of time. Maybe you could enter an event like a charity walk to give you something different to focus on as well as what you're already doing. Looking at the option of adding a personal best. This is something you want to be facilitating all the time, so you always want to be looking at progressing in the gym. But it could be that you speak with your coach and lead to making a session that's going to contribute towards you getting a personal best on one of the exercises you've been working on. So an example of this would be like when myself in the past, I've really got into deadlifts and I would spend my off season focusing on bringing that lift up. And then I would lead to times where I'd go for a 1 rep max. And this is doing 1 repetition at your absolute maximum weight. Now, this is more of a powerlifting approach to your training. And I am a bodybuilder through and through. But what this did was gave me a bit of a focus as my body fat was going up. I was getting heavier. I wanted something to really push me in the gym. I worked with a trainer and looked at strengthening my deadlift. So there's different things you can look at as you build up your training experience that you can incorporate into your regime. Now, once you've built the second floor, don't stop there. Your physique is a never-ending project. Don't put the limitation of the roof on just yet. Consider one day you might want an extension. There's so many different ways you can look at expanding your training. So don't ever limit yourself. Look to continue evolving as a competitor. Before we wrap up, I'd like you to consider awareness, add intent equals resilience. Building your physique with a strong foundation and a structure in place is going to give you the confidence to understand what your body can achieve both physically but also aesthetically when looking to become a competitor. Taking your awareness to what improvements you need to make to facilitate you getting to the stage in the best condition you possibly can, and combining that with your intention when you train, the effort that you're willing to put in, and then having the result of resilience by learning, by putting effort into understanding what it takes to get to stage condition, you're going to be a never-ending project. And it's exciting. There's so many things that you can learn about yourself, about how much you can push yourself, what exercises you enjoy. And that's what makes bodybuilding such an enjoyable sport. There's so many aspects to it, and there's so much you can gain. Now, before I give you an update into how my own prep's going, I'd like to finish by outlining the 3 key factors that are going to contribute to this becoming a lifestyle. First of all, you want to look at establishing that routine. How is training going to fit into your day-to-day life? Second, you want to look at where you're going to train. If it's a gym, you're going to need to look at signing up, how long it takes you to travel there, what sort of kit they've got available. It will really help you and your coach, if you're going to look to get a coach, devise your training plan based on the kit they've got if you know what's available to you. And I'd also like you to consider the effort and the intention that you're putting in. So like I've already said, this is something you need to build on. With the confidence you gain from training, you can start to look at putting more effort in. When you do start training regularly, just remember, if you're training 4, 5, 6 times a week, not every single workout is going to be on fire. So just bear that in mind. But if your intention is there to achieve, then you're still going to get great things from committing to a training plan and following it through. Above all else, try to enjoy the training element of becoming a bodybuilder. Your body is a masterpiece, and it takes time to build a masterpiece. So try to understand that, and that's going to help you succeed as a competitor. So, an update from me as to how my prep's going. I have just 3 weeks left now till I compete in Portugal on the 7th of December, which is my pro debut. Last week, my macros did need to go down. It's that last dig now, and to get to stage condition, you need to get your body fat down, and you need to get to a completely different level to what, a normal weight loss would look like. Before your show, you need to get the condition there so that you've got the confidence to go into your show, to go into your peak week, and know that your physique is ready for you to compete at the best of your ability. And Stephen and I had an honest conversation. Could I dig a little bit more? The answer is yes. Because I'm currently in the national lockdown, like most of you guys will be, I can really focus my energies and my home life into what it takes to prep as hard as I can now on the lead up to the show. Naturally, I am feeling the effects of this. Things are tough, but I'm embracing the challenges and I'm loving every aspect, and I honestly can't wait. And this is the point, it's the highs and the lows, not just the victories that you see on the Instagram. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that contribute to getting to stage condition, and it's really cool to be sharing that with you via my channel, and I will always be honest at all times. I hope you enjoyed this video. Next week we're going to be looking at setting a day and looking at picking a show, which is going to be really cool. Especially getting close to my own show. It's really nice to be sharing my experience with you when it comes to selecting federations, dates, and different things that contribute to you choosing your show. If you did like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell to alert you every time I post a new video every Monday. And I hope to see you next week. Peace out.